What's up, Dallas? It's your girl Rachel, and I am here with another fabulous guest on my show. How are you doing today?
I am amazing. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Can you tell everybody your name and your social media where they can find you?
Absolutely. My name is Mo Bogar. On IG, you can go under Mo Bogar or you can go under The Real Mo. And then I'm also on Facebook under The Real Mo Show.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about what you do?
Absolutely. Oh, wow. You get a certain age, you kind of do everything. You do what you want to do. At this point, I'm actually a podcaster. I'm a podcast host of the show called The Real Mo Show, and it focuses on transparency and conversations that we don't have as women. That's primarily the focus for that. I'm also a jazz artist. I'm a vocalist. I'm working on my own band. It's called The Voice Mo Bogar, and that's what I do in that perspective. I'm also a second time author. My first book was called The Shoe Shiner's Wife, and it focuses on being married to a narcissist and how your prison becomes your incubator and you get to become who God originally made you to be. And what else do I do? I'm a life coach. My coaching business is called PIC. It's called Peace and Chaos. And I also have an IG called Prayer and Chaos. It's for parents who have lost their children. So when I tell you, you discover who you are, you put your hands wherever you want. So that's who Mo Bogar is.
In a nutshell, she's the
In a
Jane of all
nutshell.
trades.
Yeah.
I love all of that. I'm gonna have to read your book, is Shoemaker's Wife. I just right when you had that title, I was like, oh, okay. But I was like, then you said it was like about being married to a narcissist. I was like, wow. I think quite a few of us have been in that box before. So, oh my goodness.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was a box that existed. I just knew I was single 20 something years. So I was
Mhm.
good at being single. But I believe I became this shell of a person trying to satisfy the world. And I think that's what drew in the empathic personality that the narcissist was looking for. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Where they want you to empathize with what they're feeling, although it's not
everything, yes, yes,
everything. And then let's not even talk about the part where they make you feel guilty for something that they say
over and over, over and
over and
over
over.
and over and
Like
over.
it's always your fault.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
always, always.
That's a whole nother conversation. So
Definitely.
yes, it's a whole nother conversation. So I wanna talk to you about this testimony that you are very, very sincere about getting out to the public. So for all of you that are watching this, we talk behind the scenes quite a bit about a very powerful testimony that she has for parents and for people who have lost loved ones, and about how to keep move past that. So I'm just gonna let the floor be yours. So Miss Monica, just tell me your testimony.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. I believe I'm one of the individuals that went through the fire to get to the other side to share with the world that you're not the only one. I lost my son a year and a half ago. My son had 8 brain surgeries. My son was a disabled man. He could physically do everything, but he had a learning delay. My son was the guy that didn't care about if you were mean to him. He said, okay, that's their problem, and he'd move past it. I was working like normal, going to work, doing 2 or 3 jobs. I had a gift shop and I was married to the narcissist. And I thought everything was like it was supposed to be. And then all of a sudden, I got a call. My son said, Mom, my head's really hurting. And that was one of the main signs that his brain tube was messing up. He said, Mom, I'm going to the ER. Are you going to be there? I said, absolutely. And I said, you go to the ER and I'll be there. And he knew because we had a very close relationship. A long time it was just he and I. And he said, you promise you? I said, I promise you know I'm coming. Actually, I made it to the ER before the ambulance. That's how fast, that's how I was moving to get there. And the first time he went to the ER, the ambulance comes around the corner and he's standing up with an oxygen mask on and he's waving and I'm waving in the ER. He could see me at the glass. And I'm like, okay, God, this is gonna be, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be great. We get into the ER, they're testing him for everything. We're there about 6 hours. And at the end, he says, Mom, my head doesn't hurt anymore. And I was like, really? I said, okay, thank you, God. His head doesn't hurt anymore. The doctors give him pain medication. They said, we can't find anything. We didn't see anything. We tested everything. His shunt is working. And so he said, Mom, I want to tell you something. The whole time everybody's talking in the back of my mind, I'm hearing, Monica, I'm going to take him with me.
Mhm.
And everybody's like, it's okay. Why are you so upset? I said, just this just makes me upset because my son was 33. And I was like, we've been doing this a long time. And this is just my reaction when we go to the ER. And so it was not the case. So my daughter and her dad leave the room, and me and my son are in the ER. But this is the first time we're in the emergency room together. He goes, Mom, I love you. I don't say it enough. You're an amazing mom. You've done a great job for T and myself. You never take time for you. I want you to promise me that you will do you. And I said, you must really be hungry because I don't even know who this person is talking to me. You want me to do what? And he goes, Mom, listen, really, I need you to promise me you'll do you. And I said, okay, I'll do me, whatever that is. I said, but how do I do me without you and T? Y'all grown. And he goes, Mama, that's the point. We're adults. You've done your job. You've done a great job. I love you. We're so blessed to have you as our mom. But you have to understand that my son doesn't talk this way. My son
Mhm.
is very, oh, Mom, it's all good. Stop crying. He's one of them guys.
Uh-huh.
So I get ready to go, and then my son says, I get ready to go in the hallway, and I told my son, I'm gonna find where the nurse is and see if we're gonna be when we're gonna be discharged. When I go out to the hallway and I slide down the wall in tears. And the nurse I'd never seen before, she comes up to me and she sits next to me and she says, he's gonna go home, isn't he? I say, yeah. I said, I keep hearing in my spirit, you're gonna have to let him go. Mind you, the doctors don't see anything. The doctors are like, we're gonna set a neuro appointment for tomorrow. Here's the pain pills in case his head start hurting again. So we're discharged. We go down. I have the weird, he's in the wheelchair and I'm pushing him down. And my daughter says, Mom, I'll drive him home because he stayed with his grandparents. He said, I'll drive him home. He never rides with his sister. So I said, I'll take him home. And he goes, No, Mom, I'm going to ride with T. That's his baby sister. So I handed him some graham crackers. He said, I'm so hungry. So he eats some of the graham crackers and he goes, Damn, Mama, what you trying to do? Kill me? I can't smoke. You got some water? So we're laughing.
Mhm.
2 hours later, he's at his grandmother's house and he has a massive stroke.
Oh no.
And from that point to 3 days later, I had to put him on hospice.
Mm.
So the same EMT that got him the first time came back out the second time. And when they drove around the corner, I was in the ER, standing in the same window, and there were no lights. And my son was not standing in the window waving. And I knew that he was going home. So I run back to the ER room, the emergency room, and they stop me and they tell me I can't go back. I said, Why can't I go back? They say, You can't go back, Miss Monica. So 30 minutes later, I get back there. I would not allow myself to lose it. I had my daughter looking at me. I had my mother looking at me, and I said, I can't lose it. And they said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your son's brain dead. Do you
Mhm.
want him in a nursing home or do you want him in hospice? My son was 12 years old, and we were watching a TV show, and he watched the old lady that was on hospice. And he said, Mom, what's wrong with her? And I told him, she's on hospice. He said, What does that mean? I said, She's dying slowly. He said, Mom, if my shunt doesn't work, I don't want to be in a nursing home. I just want it over. I said, You sure? He said, Yeah, I'm sure. He was 12 when he told me this. That's the
Wow.
first thing came in my head when the neurosurgeon said, I'm so sorry, Miss Monica, you're gonna have to make a decision. I said, I already did. I said, We're gonna do hospice. So my family was upset because I chose hospice. And when my son was going through hospice, it was only me and my daughter there.
Mm.
No, none of our family members would come to hospice. And I am so thankful in the long run that I got to say bye because I found groups on Facebook called Mamas Who Lost Their Children. There's so many of them that didn't get to say bye to their child. There's so many of them don't even know where their children are. They're still looking for the people that murdered them and things like that. So I come to realize that I was the same mama that brought him in the world. He was born 3 pounds 1 ounce. He was not supposed to live past 6 weeks. The man lived to be 33.
Mhm.
And instead of just taking him home, God gave him 3 days, long enough for me to say, I'll see you later. Because his rule was every time he had surgery, we would never say goodbye. We would always say, see you later. So from that point until the time that I had to bury him, I kept saying, I'll see you later.
Mhm.
I remember to this day what he said, Mama, do you? So if you see a whole lot of me happening in social media and in life, and I'm trying to get a TV gig, I want to be on Good Morning America, I'm going after it because I had a job to do as a single mother of a disabled man, and I did my job. Um, it's grief is hard. It's a lot to it. They talk
Mhm.
about the 5 stages of grief. They're real. As a
Mhm.
result, I stopped eating for almost a year because I was with a narcissist at the time. And when my son passed away, he simply closed the door on me and told me, you got to deal with this. I can't help you deal with it. And I had a nervous breakdown. By having a nervous breakdown, I didn't eat, I didn't talk, I worked every day. I gave myself a terrible GI condition that I'm getting better at. And I know what it's like to lose a person, but my son was playing basketball 3 days before he was on hospice and went home. Hospice is hard. He
Mhm.
couldn't breathe. They took the oxygen tube. I told my son it was okay. His rule was we're gonna fight. And that was me and his, that was our rule together. We're gonna fight. I put my hands on his hands the last day and I told him it was okay. I'm gonna be fine. You don't have to fight. His hands relaxed, and an hour later he was gone. When he was pronounced dead, I asked the nurse, what do I do? She said, kiss your baby. You'll see him on the other side and go home. For a year, I sat in the garage of the hospital. I knew it was something that I was waiting on. I didn't know what I was waiting on, but I was hoping he would come down and it was some kind of joke, but it wasn't. So, for all the mamas and dads out there who are people who deal with grief, it's a part of life that we can't explain. It's a book that I'm working on and I'm almost done with it. But I want the world to know one day at a time, y'all, one day at a time. And this is a part of life that we can't do nothing about. It's not our fault and it's nothing that we can do, but live the best that we can. I still deal with it. I'm eating more. I drink water more. Before I wasn't. They were going to put me in a hospital. It took 5 containers of fluid to get my body back because I gave up. But my son, I remember my son fussing at me when he was little, and I think at that point he was fussing at me too. He said, "Okay, Mama, how you gonna do what you need to do doing this?" So, as a single mama, I get it. It is very hard. You clamp on to your kids, you clamp on to your family because you know you're it.
Mhm.
But I did my job. So
Mhm.
I think at this point in life, God is saying, "Job well done, Mama.
Right.
Job well done."
Right. I believe he's looking at you and be like, the healing process is there, mom. I see it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm empathic, so I'm very big hearted. So when something happens, I feel it triple times. But that's so that I can wrap my arms around those people who need me when it comes to grief and pain and homeless people. I get homeless people. They tell me they don't want money. They want a hug and a conversation. So we go get coffee and we talk and I give hugs. So
That's beautiful. I love that. That's like
I know I'm corny.
no, that's beautiful. That's the power of healing in grief. So
I agree.
I think a lot of people they misconstrue the situation of why grief why we have it in the first place. The grief is not for like it's not for the loss of the person. It's because you love that person so much you just don't want to see your life without them. And
Exactly. Exactly.
I think a lot of people are just like they get mad, they get angry, they don't want to accept it, and then you accept it, and then you have to realize that that person's life, you have to look for the memories that are good instead of the bad. But I mean,
Right.
even so crazy. I just lost a friend of mine a couple of days ago, So
No, I'm sorry.
I'm at peace with it because he looked so peaceful. He looked so peaceful. Um, and I feel like God gave me an understanding to realize that even through grief, through missing our friends, that there's a healing that is going to come, a great healing
I agree.
from people. So I want to talk about the power that you're finding in the healing from grief. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. I've always been a very strong character person. I'm going to take the right way instead of the easy way. That's always been me. That's the way I talk to people in life coaching. That's the way I talk to my kids. It's going to be a hard road, but take the right road because in the big picture, it's going to be amazing. Um, for me, I become me. I was not me prior to this grief path. I became what I've had many years in HR, and I became what the world wanted me to be and what the narcissist wanted me to be. And in this grief healing process, I'm healing more than just the loss of my son. I'm healing all the childhood traumas. Both of my parents are narcissists. I had no idea. And that was my form of love. That's the love that I knew. That's the love that I was attracted to. I've learned in a healing process that that's not the love. That's not my love language. That's not who uh, can express what I need, can support me. So I've also learned that my identity is mine. You see
Mhm.
these ladies behind me?
I
I would
do.
have never displayed these ladies in another Zoom. I never would have displayed these ladies in my life coaching or my HR meetings because it was not accepted in society. And I've learned through healing that society doesn't have to accept me. God created me and I have to love and accept me. So who
Yeah.
doesn't like the bald head lady with the African clothes on? It's okay. So in my healing process, I've healed some old traumas that I didn't know existed, and I stopped being so nervous about what the world thinks of me. I asked God to make me a global, international motivational speaker, whether it's a book, a magazine, a conversation, a conference, whatever it may be, and don't let me be afraid to do me. And
Mhm.
that is part of the healing that has come from the grief and loss of my son. I don't have to worry so much about what's happening to him.
Right.
I can be okay with loving life as me, and that's what the healing process has done is doing for me.
Mhm. Now, when you spoke about boldness, I was like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna look up like a Bible verse because I know that God wants us to be bold.
There you
And
go. Come boldly to the throne, and I do. I'd be
yes,
like, "Hey, God, it's me. It's me again."
yes, because I mean, when the disciples were speaking, they were bold about it. They didn't care what anybody thought. It was only about what God thought about them. So
Right. And I don't think Jesus had time for fluff. I don't think that's not, people try to make Jesus a little easy. I don't think so. I think Jesus was like, hey, man, if you're coming with it, what you need, what you want.
mhm,
And I think that's, like you said, come boldly. That's what we're required to do. That's part of the process. So I'm
that's what the
bold with
Bible
it.
states. It does. It's at Acts 4:29. It says, "Now the Lord, consider our threats and enable your servants to speak your word with great boldness." And then
Absolutely.
Acts 14:3 says, "So Paul and Barnabas spent considerable time there, speaking boldly for the Lord, who confirmed the message of his grace by enabling them to perform signs and wonders."
Right.
I mean, we're not meant to be, shy and, hiding our faith. And, we're supposed to be very bold in healing each other through everything that we're going. And I love what you're doing, speaking your.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that one of the problems that as believers is we are afraid. We aren't bold. I think the world is louder than we are. And I'm not that. I'll tell people in a minute, hey, I'm a spiritual person because some people are uncomfortable and some people don't like and they have their own belief system. And they're like, hey, this won't work because we believe something different. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just speaking about what I believe and what has helped me. And I'm not afraid of it. Like I told you, I do a lot of life coaching and things like that. Now, I don't project my belief on anybody, but I speak from a spiritual perspective when they ask questions and we have those conversations. So I did not do this prior to my son dying. I
Mhm.
didn't. I was doing what was expected according to whoever I was speaking to. That was
Wow.
what the world taught me. But when I pulled up um, the bootstraps that I needed to, it came with God. It came with spirituality. It came with belief and not being afraid because I know one day I'm going home. One day I'm dying. So I'm going
Mhm.
to live on this earth out my purpose that I was supposed to originally. So however I go home is how I go home. So no, I'm not afraid. So I
Right.
do have intelligence. I know when to put my mask on when I get in certain spaces or whatever I need to do. But at the same time, I'm not afraid to be me. I'm not afraid to be the Monica that I was supposed to be. That's why I use the nickname Mo. There's
Uh-huh.
always room for Mo. That's my tagline. And that and that's I know it's funny, right? But it was given to me over and over and over as the closer I got to accepting the fact that my son is gone. And it was like, you know what? There's always room for Mo. So if God wants me to sew, I'm a sew. If God wants me to do fashion, I can do fashion. If God wants me to do an MCing job or jazz, I can do it. There's always room for Mo as long as I have God with me. And I do. And I'm not by myself. So nobody's by themselves, even though the enemy tries to tell us that we are. That's only up here, but hear something differently. So yes, I think as believers, we need to come boldly and don't be afraid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to speak about the power of testimonies to people. So your
Yes,
testimony, somebody is going to hear your testimony and be like, wow, like she's really doing it. Like she's really taking that moment and she's moving it and applying it to be better in her life. Like,
I
has
pray
you
so.
have you had a testimony that you've heard before that touched you in the same way that you feel like somebody might accept yours as well?
Absolutely. I have a funny story, not funny, but strange story. I was 18. I tried to commit suicide, and I got pregnant with my son 7 months later. And I fought for my son all my life until he went home. I had, and one of the meetup groups that had to do with people who had manic depressive disorder, which I have. Um, she talked about how lonely she felt and how she tried to commit suicide many times and it never worked. And her story sounded a lot like mine. But
Mhm.
she was not afraid to be transparent enough for me to hear um, that this is my story, even though I'm not saying anything about it. The difference was she didn't have any children. And God gave me my son at that time that I needed him to move forward. And
Right.
so I was so thankful to hear her story. And to this day, she and I are associates. And she's the one that she's my accountability partner. She's like, hey, dude, I'm waiting on the book. Hey, what are you doing with this? I thought you said you were going to this, that, and the other. But it came from her transparency. And it made me want to live and fight for somebody more than me. And then when my son passed, I learned I have to fight for myself. So, yes, um, I did. We were from two different spectrums of the world, too. She was much younger. She was non-African American. She was a seven-figure lady. We were totally opposite, but we were so much the same. So
Yeah.
her testimony allowed me to remember over and over in my head when I was going through that. Once I got on this side, I promised myself I would step to the light and not be afraid to share so that it would help somebody else.
I love that. I love that. And I'm really grateful to have met you, Mo, because
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
I yes, I love to hear testimonies and I love to hear how God has changed people and how, you use the spirit to move you through your life and things like that.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I've I've not lost the children that I birthed, but I did lose two babies between my third and my fourth baby. So,
I'm sorry.
that is a different type of grief. But nevertheless, it's still grief.
It
And
is.
I always had hope. I always hoped that God would give me another baby. And he did. My last son, he's 15 now. So but yeah, it's like he finds ways of helping us relate to each other but then also helping us heal together. And I think that's the power of testimonies, healing in the
I,
process.
I
Yeah.
believe so too. I had a meetup group. It was called Mesquite Meetup, and now I'm getting ready to change the name. And it was directed more to women because I think we handle stuff on our own and keep moving in silence. And I think the testimonies that we're not afraid to share is so that we can realize that it's okay to be transparent, and there are spaces where if you're not comfortable with giving it to the world, that we're available to one another to have those conversations. So the meetup that I created was called Meetup Mesquite, and I'm actually renaming it. But it's once a week we meet up in various places of my choice, and I drive the process so that we can have conversations, because there is a big increase in suicide over women over the age of 50. That's something I just ran into on social media. And I think it's because we don't have outlets. And I think if you can watch somebody on social media that is giving their testimony on TikTok, on me, on Bogar, I share my day. Like today, I'm not in the mood, or I'll be like, today I'll have tears. And someday I'll be like very frustrated at work or whatever. My life, I thank God for it, but my life has been the testimony that I think helps a lot of people, not just women, that I've noticed on TikTok and IG. So, yeah, um, we have to come take the assignment and come to the front. And I think
Amen.
it's people like us that we have to do that, and know that there's a bigger being behind us that's got ours. So God has us. That's what you're afraid of. So
Yeah. And never be afraid to speak about what you've been through because somebody's going to listen. Somebody's going
absolutely,
to
and it
listen.
may not be for everybody. It's for people that are assigned to hear that. So you're right. I agree.
Absolutely. And I look forward to that. I would like to attend one of those events that you have coming up. So
Oh,
just
thank you. I definitely will.
yeah, send me some flyers like every time you have an event, like you know where you're going or the information and I'll post it so that we
Oh,
can
thank you. I will do. I will do. Because I told God I wanted the global. I said, okay, God, I got my passport. I'm ready to go when you are. And I became a travel agent so that I could set it up properly and learn the process. I know God is so weird. He gives you, okay, let you be an agent so you can learn the right way and make money. Okay. And so I started doing that. And then I said, okay, well, God, I got the two things. I'm ready to go globally. And that's what I asked God for, the uttermost, wherever you want me to go to have the conversation about, my life and the things I've been through. And I'm ready. I think that's why he had me lose so much weight. It was not intentional, but I think the photos on the global photos on the magazines, and I'm thinking big because my kid told me, "Ma, do you?" And I'm like, okay, there's always room for more. So I'm gonna do more to her best ability.
that's absolutely that's wonderful. And I mean
Thank
you're doing
you.
exactly what he told you to do. He said, Mom, don't worry about me. It's almost like
Exactly.
you needed to hear that at the right time. Like he was
I did.
preparing even though he didn't even know, but he was preparing
Right.
you. Oh man.
And I think that's why in the ER I kept feeling that voice of, I'm gonna take him with me. That's all I kept hearing. I kept looking around. I told him, I said, JJ, do you hear something? And he was like, no, Mom, you losing it. I don't hear nothing. But I was hearing spiritually, I'm gonna take him home, so that when God took him home, I was able to relax and know I have a daughter, my baby girl T. I had a gifted child and a special child, and that's my gifted one. She's a coach and a teacher, and 4.2 GPA. That child has a different mindset, but that woman's pretty independent. But
Mhm.
JJ was not. So with JJ going home, I didn't. I'm sorry. With JJ, I'm sorry. I apologize. With JJ going home, I didn't. I don't have to focus so hard on somebody and put me on the back burner.
Right.
Because T knows how to call me. As a disabled child, you don't necessarily know when to call, why to call, and you always have to be on top of their business. But with my daughter being a gifted woman and doing her thing, I can focus on God and me and my little dog buddy. So
Yeah.
that's okay. So that's what you're seeing now.
And your daughter has been a big support for you through this whole process, right?
Absolutely. She and I were both there when he died in hospice, and she had never even gone to a funeral. And I think she dealt with dealing with a lot of trauma herself. because she was his big sister, even though she was his little sister, because she had to back me on everything that
Yeah.
dealing with JJ, making sure he had his asthma medicine, make sure he was eating, make sure he drank water, because his whole focus was to play basketball and go to work. He didn't do too much of anything else. So I think it was a relief for her too, in a sense, because she doesn't have to worry about JJ either. I don't either, because he's worried about us. He's fussing at me for sure. But I think as a result of that, God gave permission to say, okay, Mo, you can go, you can do you now. You've done your
Yeah.
job. I trusted you with my jewel. I'm going to take him back so you can do you. And this is where we are. This is who I am.
And you and your daughter are healing together. In your process of grieving, did it also help you with your daughter seeing you transition? Or tell me about
I
that a little.
think so. I think she was very worried. Well, she took on some stuff because the first time I was in denial. I didn't talk. I was going to work every day and couldn't remember going to work.
Yeah.
I would go to work. I was an independent contractor, so I was home. I would work like it was a computer process, and then I never talked. I went weeks without talking. She would come over. I would hug her. And I would say, T, I don't want to hug. I would hug her, then I go, T, okay, I got work to do. And she said she felt like I was pushing her back. She said, but God told her to stay right there. She doesn't. She's trying to figure it out. So I think she and I didn't necessarily become closer because we were already close. I think the respect for what I had to do as a single mama, all majority of my life, because I had my son at 19, she respects it now. She understands. Mama gave everything. Mama didn't keep nothing for herself. And that my mom must have been an amazing woman for God to give her a special guy, and she raised him and then said, okay, I'm gonna take him back. So she said, if I could be, and this was such a compliment to me, and I really thanked her for it. She said, Mama, if I could be half the mama that you are, I'm golden. And that's not something my kid would have said. I think my kid was very angry because I focused on my son because of his disability. And I had a sad tendency to not always focus on her because she's a true
Right.
athlete and I used to be an athlete. But I think it didn't make us closer. I think it clarified some spaces that we have to be back to back in life with each other because it's only two of us. It's she and I.
Right.
So when she needs me, I'm there. And then when I need her, she's there. So it made us, we used to be called the Three Musketeers. Now we're Wonder Twin Power, she and I. So when one's down, the other's up. So we have that, but she does fuss at me, Mama, do you? What are you waiting on? Don't wait, Mama. And she checks. Hey, Mama, you said you was going because I closed my brick and mortar shop because God told me to close it
Uh-huh.
because He told me how can you travel globally and internationally if you're focused in one spot. And at first I was so heartbroken. Then I started to realize, oh, I am getting ready to go to some places. Okay, God. But I struggled with it. And she came and she and her boyfriend moved things, boxed things, labeled things. And she said, Mama, you going somewhere else and it's okay. I think otherwise, if we hadn't gone through this together, she wouldn't have had the courage to approach me and say, look, Mama, I feel like you're dragging your feet. And it's true, I was afraid. I said, this is new territory. She said, Mama, God kept you through this. Do you think God's not going to keep you through going to Africa? And I thought about it, and she is my sounding board. And I think
Mm.
that's because of what she and I went through um, with losing my son.
Yeah. I believe that is the true purpose, that you need each other to keep each other in focus and keep you all straight. So I like
Absolutely.
that. Much respect to your daughter for the relationship
Thank
that you
you.
have. I'm thankful for you telling your testimony. I really feel somebody out
Thank you.
is gonna hear this and they're gonna be like, wow, like she actually spoke.
Yeah.
Yes, and I
I'm a
love
life coach, and that's the I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm a life coach, and that's why I tell people my life coaching is mind shift. That's the primary focus, is that you have to shift your mind off of the past and negativity so you can go where you're going. And I tell a lot of people this. I'm a life coach. It's called called Peace and Chaos. And the reason I think God called me to life coaching is because it's a lot of people that don't know where to start. I
right.
didn't. I didn't know where to start, how to get there, where am I going? And God brought me through these challenges so that I could learn where to start. how to express with people. I can never make it right, but I can walk with you through the process. I can be your sounding board. So as a life coach, I think this is a result of life's traumas
I
and
love it.
having to go through it solo. And that's why coaching is so important to me.
It's very important. And coach each other and be there and support each other. I love that. So how can
Absolutely.
someone get a hold of you for your coaching sessions and maybe,
Well,
even send you a message?
absolutely. You could go through IG and I'm under Mo Bogar, that's MO_Bogar, or you could always message the real Mo, TheRealMo, or you can go to the Real Mo Show. I also have a phone number, y'all. It's 469-960-5340. And that's my answering service and my direct number. And if you want to talk to me about whatever, I'm available. I also have a prayer line on IG. And sometimes you need a prayer and you just say, hey, I just need somebody. Because I've called suicide lines. I've tried suicide 3 times. And I got to the point where God said, okay, don't you get it? You're not leaving until I say you're leaving. So that's what stopped me from even thinking about suicide. But if you call my phone number, 469-960-5340, you will get an automated system that will take you straight to me. You can be interested in being on my podcast. You want to do life coaching. You may be a musician that's looking for an opportunity. God has given me that information to give to you so that you and I can connect however we need to connect.
I love that. Y'all please go like, subscribe, and support. Follow her on social media.
Please
I thank
do.
everybody for watching. Yes. Yeah, you can Google What's Up Dallas Magazine. I'm all over social media. You just find me, I'm there. My phone number is plain as day on there as well. So thank you again, Mo, for being on my
Thank you
show.
for having me.
Yes, ma'am. And it says our interview time is pretty much up. So which is so sad. I,
Absolutely.
I could talk to you for
Oh,
hours. I feel like I could
you and
talk to
I
you for
both.
hours. All right, girl. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all
Thank
for
you.
watching. I appreciate you.
Bye.